You. I'm talking to you. Have you ever wanted to get like art of, let's say, for your OC? Let's say you're a VTuber, you want either like maybe a PNG for you to be able to just start off your VTubing adventure. Maybe you just want to, you've never gotten art before and you just want a ref sheet for, one of your first ever characters, or you just want to bring your imagination to life. Or maybe you've been a VTuber forever and you still just you've heard the term Skeb tossed around here and there everywhere, and you were just wondering what the hell is Skeb? What is this? So basically, in this video, a little bit of a commentary. It's still kind of impromptu at the same time. I just kind of wanted to go over how do I get art, because if you guys have noticed, almost all my thumbnails, at least over on the ASMR channel, it's art, and they're by different artists, and you can tell me there's a different style in almost every single one of my thumbnails. I'm here to tell you, how do I get my art? Where do I get my art? What do I do for my art? And how can you get art? And of course, there's a whole bunch of different ways. I'll explain them all. I'll tell you how to get art, how I get art, the best ways to get art, and everything that I've learned to do with Skeb and Twitter, or X, as we all know. So basically, if you've been in the VTuber stream, the blah blah blah, if you've been in the VTuber like hemisphere for at least a month or two, you've probably heard at least once someone talking about Skeb, or like their Skeb addiction, or oh, I really like how this Skeb turned out. When I first got into the VTuber scene, I saw people use the term and I had no idea what the hell it was. I thought, what is it, like a pick crew where you like made your own little thingy and it's not it's like stuff like that. So I'm here to tell you exactly what Skeb is and how it's my main source of getting artwork and getting art. The other way to get art is Twitter, and I will give you the pros and the cons for both of them. So starting it off, this right here, this is Skeb. You can get to Skeb by typing up skeb.jp. It is an entirely Japanese run website. The currency is yen. Don't worry, the bank auto does that for you. And it connects using your Twitter account. So you don't have to technically make your own account when you go to Skeb. You just sign in with your Twitter. It uses Twitter for pretty much everything about it. And most of the time, you are going to find artwork that is anime-like, because it is, it's run basically by like Japanese, and that's their typical. This is their typical style. You can probably find anything you really want, but I'm here to tell you what I do and how to navigate this website and how I get my art. There's a few things that you can do, and it depends on either how much money you have or just how you'll see. So you can have not safe for work turned on. You can have not safe for work turned off. I'm making a YouTube video, so not safe for work is turned off for me. But here, there's a new artworks tab, and normally there'd be Skeb is kind of known for having some wild, because you can find an artist that'll draw anything for you. So if you want to see an Arbok snake wrapping around a Pikachu, you can find it. You can find anything here. So if you're easily squeamish, or you are an innocent poor soul of a child, make sure that not safe for work is off. If you don't want to be scarred, because I'm desensitized. I've been all over the internet. I've seen it all. So if I see a 2,000-pound wrestler causing someone to sniff their feet, I am not going to gag or recoil. I'm going to be like, oh, this is the average Tuesday afternoon for me. I understand. Even now there can be some suggestive stuff, but at least there won't be any nudity if you have the not safe for golf. So there's a bunch of different categories. The one that I like the most and the one that I use the most is the new works artwork. And what I will do because I am insane. There's a little button that down here, you can't see it, but if you scroll down, there'll be a button that says show more. And you can then scroll through every single piece of artwork. And what I'll do is I'll use my fancy little mouse button. If I like the style of something and the art says seeking, which means the artist is looking for more commissions, I will then like hit the middle mouse button and put it in a new tab and keep scrolling. By the end of it, I will typically have between 20 to 50 tabs, which I will then cull it and, you know, cut off the ones that are either too pricey, or I don't like it when I zoom in, or I don't like some of the other art pieces. And then I try to get between like 5 and 10. And then the next few days I'll think to myself, do I want to get this? Do I want this? Is this what I want? So let's just click on a few for an example, and you can scroll down really far. You go down, you keep going down, and there's a lot of them. Eventually it will say, you know, you've run out, like there's no more, and that's when you know you're done. Or if you remember, like if you do this enough, then you'll just be able to see, you know, that you remember this artwork, and then you can stop then. So we grabbed a few of them. And so once you've grabbed the ones that you like and you're finished browsing, you then go through them. And so this is where you can see all the different things. And then if you click on their profile, which you can find over here, you can then see other artwork they've done. So it's like, wow, this is really pretty. This looks really good. It's all very, very high quality stuff. And then this here is the information that you kind of need to look at, especially if you're working on a budget. So typically for yen, this is JPY. JPY is yen. If you want to do this simple conversion, you just take out 2 zeros. So this is about 350 bucks. In reality, it's probably only like 300, maybe like 270, because yen is worth, it's been slowly losing its value. So technically it's probably about like, it's probably like $290. But if you want to just do the fast, simple conversion, you just take out 2 zeros. And so if you were to then decide, you know, that's in my budget, I want to get this, you know, $290 for this art quality, very good, worth it, you would hit new request. From there, most of the time, so there's no route, it's hard to see for you, but this says amount range, and then it says the 3,500 yen, and then it goes up to a max value. Some people have their recommended amount, not their what's it called, not their lowest amount. Sometimes the recommended amount is higher than the lowest you can ask for. So if you want to try and risk it, then you can always put the like the lowest amount that you can, and then you then risk either A, you know, getting rejected, B, getting quality that's not their best, C, just, you know, not getting what you want. And, you know, personally, I always try to go with the recommended amount unless they ask for more. And I always mention in the request itself, if you want more, just appeal and I'll do it. Because you'll see from a lot of these other ones, they can get really, really cheap. And that's because Skeb is very, very competitive. So most of the time, the proper Skeb etiquette is after you pay for a Skeb, they deliver the artwork. And if you like it and you want to support them more, you'll do something which is called a boost. And it's basically paying them after the fact. So if you get an artwork for really, really cheap, normally what's very polite is to tip them afterwards, especially because most of the time the artists here are underpricing themselves. So it's very, you know, it would be very kind to be able to like help them if you can. Of course, budgeting can be an issue, especially if you're starting off and stuff like that. So the one problem, and probably the biggest con of Skeb, is this right here, the text box. This is all you have to work with. Once you type up what you want, it is, you cannot contact, you're not allowed to contact the artist. You can no longer contact the artist. It is just done so. And it auto translates it into Japanese, so there can be translation errors. You're not allowed to contact them on Twitter. You're not allowed to contact them anywhere. You're not allowed to have contact. You're not allowed to specify, it's whatever you write in this text box plus the reference URLs, which is down here. This is like you would have a Google Drive link to like other examples of your characters or character. So for example, I could write, I really like your art. Can you please draw my VTuber boy? He is a pink bunny boy with lop ears. And then I would send them the Google Drive link, which has my like just different artworks and stuff like that. And then you would send it. And then after a few days, like the request will go by, and they will either accept it or they'll reject it, or they'll send you a appeal, which is like they might want more. And so that in there lies the major problem with Skeb. It is basically a gamble, but my experiences with Skeb is normally you get what you pay for or more. Like I almost always have really good experiences with Skebs, and the best part about it is after the commission is done, you then are allowed to message the person afterwards, and you can then commission them through Twitter rather than Skeb if you so desire to. Like some of my favorite artists are like I have met them through Skeb, and then I talk to them on Twitter, I've added them on Discord and stuff like that, and then you can just get personal artworks and you would be able to have a lot more communication and freedom. But if you go through some of the other ones, this is like a Cyclops. You go down here. And one thing that I've noticed from a lot of people who use Skeb, like sometimes they don't even know that if we scroll all the way back to Skeb itself, we scroll. It's not all just artwork. You can get more than artwork on Skeb. For example, you can get voice acting work. Let me here. Let's do an example of some voice acting. Oh, wait, hold on. You can't hear it. So you can ask for voice acting work like this. You can ask for text. You can do videos. Like some of the videos are really, really good too. I know I've gotten a lot of my starting screens and stuff like that through Skeb itself. This person is a very classic person. I'm sure you've seen them on Twitter if you use Twitter. There's also music, which this is some of my people I have gotten from Skeb, and that's like they can help you make music. And I feel like it's very underutilized, the music that you can get from Skeb. And now this is the advice for the money grabbers. If you have a really low budget and you can't afford much, one of the best ways to get people while they're where they need to get more art on their profile. So if you can manage to get them first, you'll most likely have it cheaper before they get more popular. So if you go to new creators, and you pick a few that you basically you gotta show more. You find your new creators, and you can like put a few. You'll judge it probably based off of the banner and the profile picture. Try to find some things that you like. And then so these people just started off on Skeb, so they're not gonna have any, they're not gonna have any Skeb results because they're new. And most of the time they'll price themselves a little lower for their first commission, just because they want to be able to have artwork on the site itself. So you can get a little bit of a deal by putting your trust in them, despite them not having any kind of like portfolio. But they do have a portfolio. If you check their Twitter, um, this is how you'll find out if you'll like their art or not, and you can decide whether or not you want to take a chance on them. I'm hoping to God there's nothing not safe for work. So here's like an example of their artwork, and if this is something that you think is nice, you can then be there first and take a chance, and most likely you'll, being the first person that have given them a chance on Skeb, get a lower price than in the future if they get a lot more popular. So you can look through all the different things here. Some of them price themselves highly right off the get-go because they understand their demographic and stuff like that, and believe that even with a higher price they'll still get commissions. And then there are some that believe they need to mark themselves for lower so that people will commission them at least in the start. And so that's one of the ways that you can, like, this person, I mean, this art I think looks, oh, this is portfolio. This is, so they technically haven't, this is one of the ones where I think they're pricing themselves slowly. 50 yen or 5,000 yen is like less than 50 bucks. And this I think is really good art for that. So this would be an example of someone that is pricing themselves a little bit lower because they're newer. And I think later on, once they have a few pieces, they're probably going to rise up to 7,000 would be my guess, like 7,000, 8,000. Everyone rates themselves differently, stuff like that. And make sure if you're doing this, please make sure to tip them after the fact. Even if you have a small budget that you're working with, if you're going to try and find people that are lower priced, at least have like the courtesy of tipping them afterwards. That would be my like request if you choose to do something where it's like you're trying to get something cheaper. It would still be very, very polite of you to do that. But yeah, those are that's the advice I would give. How I find myself, my art is I go to new works, I hit show more, and I scroll all the way to the bottom to see which ones I'd like. I go by seeking because if they're seeking, that means I know that they're still accepting requests. Though if you do really like an artwork, for example, this artwork is very, very cute, you can still click on them. Even if they are not taking commissions, you can still notify once they are ready to take commissions, which is, still nice. Like, this art is really, really nice. And then you'll get an email and a notification on this website when they're being notified, like when they're ready to take commissions. You'll be the first, like the second they enable it, you'll be the first person to know, as well as other people that have it notified when starting. So if there's an artist that you've been really wanting to take a peek on and been really wanting to get art on, hit the notify, and then it'll probably be at like 4 in the morning, but you will get an email saying, hey, they're ready, go get them, Tiger. And then you have to rush to be the first one, I've gotten a few artworks through this, and they have closed almost immediately after. So I've been kind of lucky on some fronts. But that's my advice for Skeb. So a little TLDR of Skeb is a Japanese website that has and hosts a bunch of Japanese artists. The con about Skeb is there's only one communication, and you're relying on a translation to be correct. And you're not able to ask for like, oh, can you change this? Can you do this? So if you are very, very picky and you need to go through like 5 different revisions until you're happy with your work, this is not for you. You are not going to enjoy Skeb. But if you are happy with basically anything you get and your expectations will, they're not the highest. So like if you get a really good piece of art, you're like, wow, oh, I'm so happy about that, then this would definitely be it for you. There's some amazing artists on here that you might not be able to communicate with or find otherwise. And I've found like personally amazing artists on this site. And I like it a lot. I kind of like the little Gamba aspect of it. And you can find artists for, cheap. You can find really expensive, popular artists as well. It has, you just base yourself, off of their like portfolio, I guess, because you can show like when you click on, let me go back really quick. When you click on an artwork, you can see all of their previous artworks that people have, paid for on Skeb. This one's really good. This is like $20. Look how good this art is for like $20. That's amazing. That's really good. This is a really good one. But you can also click on specific ones. For example, if I want to click on this one right here, you can then read what that person wrote, like what they wrote to get the commission that they got. And then you can also click on the person that commissioned it. And then you can go through there. So if you find someone that you like, really like their design of the character, you can just go on that person's account and see all of the different things that they requested. And you could also, follow them on Twitter if you want. So that's another good way. If there's like a Twitter user that you really like, or if there's a VTuber that you really like for example, you can find all of my art. Like, oops. Let me go to my profile. How do I go to my profile? Use page. There we go. You can if you go to my account, you can see all of my artwork. You can see all of it. So, and if you like a certain piece of art that, I've gotten in the past, let's say you really like the Yandere one, you can then go on it and then you can find who drew it and then you can request them yourself. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with this website. There's a lot of, I would say it's pretty nuanced. And the only con with this that I would say would be the lack of communication kind of sucks. I personally really like getting to know my artist and, maybe even making friends with them. But this makes it so you can't you can't get revisions. You can't talk to them really. You can't. It's just like you pay for it, they give you the art, or they cancel it. And you either like the art or you don't like the art. They really don't like, they take the communication out of it. And it's just, you pay for artwork, you get artwork, and you got to remember there's a human being making the artwork, and that's who you're giving a tip to, and that's basically Skeb. Now, the other place that I get artwork from and that I would recommend when it comes to getting specific pieces, like if you want your OC to have a reference sheet, or if you want a VTuber model and you need the artwork for it, you absolutely should not go to Skeb. You should be on, most likely, I would recommend Twitter. So I have a few artists, because I'm just going to give examples of artists. You can find artists all over Twitter, all over there. And if you need help finding artists, I have a few here. You can always go through my profile list, and you can always do, hashtag commissions and look it up on Twitter. But one of the best ways to find artists would be going to other VTubers and looking at their like art mamas, or going through their following and seeing who do they follow, because most of the time, if it's a VTuber, they're gonna follow artists. Like half of my following, like who I follow, are artists. And so here's a few examples, and I'm just going to kind of show you how to navigate. Most of the time, an artist is going to have a message feature available. You can message them and you can be like, hey, are your commissions open? How can I get art? Sometimes they will have different tags and stuff in their bios, and that's what you kind of need to look for. Cole doesn't have one. Cole's a very, very cute boyo. They're very precious. They don't have a link to their website, which sometimes they do. I mean, they have a link to their Etsy shop, but that's not like their commission page. So if you wanted commissions right now, they're closed. So if they say commissions closed, then, you know, obviously you can't get artwork from them. They also say it in big letters here. But you would go to the message board, and sometimes you can even ask to be on their wait list. And if we go to a different artist, this artist has a card, which is basically you can see rules, you can see prices, you can see like, okay, so this is the prices for a VTuber. It doesn't include reading. You can see examples, you can see the price for this. You can, there's like more examples, there's prices. Most of the time artists will have a page where you can see all of the details. They'll have their rules laid out, and they'll have how do you like communicate with them. Most of the time you can just message them through Twitter, and that'll be how you can communicate. And then we have a this is another artist. They have a VGen, which is another kind of website where you can commission stuff. It's new, it's newer, it just kind of came out. But yeah, so like almost every single one of the artists will have some way, especially if they're well established, they will have like their own little website that you can go to and you can see. They also have their own website here. You see the little cheese boy. They'll have all their links so you can find their Twitter, YouTube, Ko-Fi, Pixiv, commissions. You can find everything you need through the Twitter links. You can find out the informations. So Twitter has its perks where it is concise. You can get exactly what you want. You can find what you want, and you can do everything the way that you want it. You can communicate. You can go through different revisions. Most of the time, Twitter will be pricier, especially if you're finding someone with a big following. But just like Skeb, you can find people that are a little cheaper that haven't been really known yet, and you can be kind of their starter batch and stuff like that. I would say the hardest part about Twitter is finding artists and finding artists that you like, because sometimes you can just not know where to look. My personal like help would be find VTubers you like, find VTubers whose art you like, and then figure out who they got their art from. Like if you like the design of someone, find their art mama. Most of the time, every single VTuber will have their art mama in their bio. Like for example, mine, I have my well, at least I used to. I don't really use my model much anymore. But for like if you go to my Twitch, you'll be able to see it. Most of the time you can click and you'd be able to see both the rigger who did the model and the artist. My artist was Shion. Shion was the person who did my art for my original model. It wasn't this model. This model, it was Nue. And you know, you'll be able to find stuff that way. And you can always find stuff by searching over on here, you know, searching tags, looking up you know, art and stuff like that. But if you're ever looking for stuff, never ever like make a tweet and be like, hey, does anyone have art commissions open? Because you're just gonna get 10 million bots in your comments who are just stealing other people's arts. They'll go into your DMs, they'll go into everything, and you're just gonna get bombarded with like a bunch of different comments, a bunch of different DMs, and they're all gonna be from fake accounts that just search for these keywords. That's why sometimes you'll see people make tweets that are like purposely misspelled like stuff like that so that bots don't find their tweet. Um, and so that would be my thing. Those are my two ways of getting artwork. There's Skeb. That's a personal favorite. I've gotten like 50 Skebs, and I'm going to continue to use Skeb just because I really like how I can just see artwork. Like, it's just a ton of art, almost all amazing, talented, and I get to sate some of my curiosity with like seeing some really interesting pictures, especially if you have not safe for work on. Some of the things you see are very comedic to me, at least. No shame to whatever anyone's into, of course, you know, but sometimes it's a little funny to see some of the things that I see. Um, and I personally really like Skeb. The only thing that's bad about Skeb is the communication. Uh, and if you want something really, really specific, you absolutely should go to Twitter. You should be able to find artists, try to find something that you like, and then communicate with the artist, especially if you're getting art for the first time ever. You really need to communicate with the artist and like make sure that you're happy with what you get. And most of the time an artist will understand, even if you're a little bit on like the rough side of like, you know, trying to get your point across. And you know, everyone needs to start everywhere. Prices range most of the time. When it comes to pricing, there's two things you're paying for. You're paying for quality. Where's my finger? Imagine I'm sticking a finger up. Okay, you're paying for quality, and you're paying for exposure. Believe it or not, as much as people hate that term. So if you're going to buy artwork for someone and they have like 50,000 followers, they are going to have a much higher pricing than someone who has 50 followers with the same quality. And sometimes you'll pay more for someone who has 50k, you know, followers, but they're very stylized and you wouldn't consider their quality to be too high up there, without being rude or anything like that. Versus someone whose quality seems so amazing, but they just haven't been found yet. Because sometimes you're just paying for the funny big number, which can really inflate numbers, especially for people who like only care for that social media presence. So personally, I would look for a mix of the two with a heavy leaning towards quality. I care way more about quality than having funny serotonin numbers go up by seeing, you know, a post doing really, really good because an artist has a lot. I think quality matters way more, especially because if you're going to be using this for like YouTube, you know, thumbnails and stuff like that, you're gonna be using the artwork a lot more if you're happy with it and the quality is really good, and you're gonna be able to reuse it, and that might get you a lot of clicks by having like a really good artwork versus a little bit of Twitter clout. I don't think it's really worth it. I think personally you should always go for what you think feels right rather than the big funny numbers, especially because the bigger the funny numbers are, the more expensive things get. Most of the time, not always. Some people, you know, it's a sometimes. But that's my advice when it comes to getting art, where I get art, how to get art, and just art in general. A lot of my art has come from Skeb, and if you're ever looking for Skeb people yourself, or like any pieces of my art, you can actually go on my Twitter, which is always in the description below, and you can I credit my artist with a little art panel emoji. You can scroll through my account, my Twitter account, and I most of the time I post like my artwork that I get from Skeb, and then I'll have their Twitter account, and on their Twitter account almost every like 100% of the time their Skeb will be linked to their Twitter account. So you'll be able to find whatever, you know, if you like an artwork there, or you can just go to my Skeb via, you know, like actual Skeb itself. Just look up everybun in the search bar on Skeb and you'll probably find one of my pieces. And then you can just click on my name like through the user list and then look through all my different Skebs. Um, but yeah, I would seriously suggest if you have any kind of OC, if you like creative stuff and you haven't gotten artwork yet, at least get artwork once. Like just have your, because it to me it feels so much better seeing my character alive. You know, being able to move and all this different stuff. Like when you're imaginative, it's just it feels different to see your thoughts visualized, and it's just, I think it's a really really nice feeling, especially when you work really hard on the design and you care a lot about a character. Like for example, if you've been playing D&D for 5 years and you've played the same character that you love and adore over and over again, and they get to like level 20 in like a 5e campaign or a Pathfinder campaign, and you've always just been using like placeholder art of like random bunny girl you found online, or random dog boy 27, or you know, just an owl, or who knows, whatever you use. It just like, it means so much more when you're using your own art that you paid with your own money, of artwork that you own, of a character you made, and are able to show it to all other people you're playing that character with. Everyone can like go ooh and ah and admire it. Like it just makes all the difference. It makes the immersion go up 10 times knowing that like it's your character. You paid for this character. You spent the time, you found an artist, you talked with them, and you made this kit. You made this a reality. You turned your imagination into a reality with the help of a mama or a papa. And then, you know, I might even start a little addiction of wanting even more art, and then it'll be a very expensive hobby, and you have me to thank you for that. But this video has been going on for long enough. I hope I was able to help at least a little bit. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing. I tried explaining it very simply, but I didn't really slow down or anything like that. I hope it wasn't too small. I hope it wasn't too big. And thank you for watching. If you made it this far and you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. I appreciate it. Only like I think it's like 50, maybe 40% of you are subscribed. I mean, at this point it might be more. I don't know. I haven't checked. But make sure to hit that subscribe button if you actually want serotonin up into your brain. And also, if you made it this far into the video, I would love to hear your thoughts on everything just in general. Like, what do you think of this video? What do you think? Are you going to be using Skeb? Are you going to be using Twitter? Are you just not going to get art? Do you have a certain OC? Do you have a character that you've just dying to have imagined? Are you an aspiring VTuber? Are you aspiring to be a VTuber and you're not there yet? Maybe you start off with PNG tubing. Like, what's your plans? What's your thoughts on just everything all in general? And thank you for making it this far. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I wasn't too boring. This commentary, like this doesn't have any editing in it. Like this is just me working with my OBS and what I got in front of me. So if it seems a little, I'm doing my best, and I'm trying to do it all live in one take. And this was my one and only take, so I hope you like it. But thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And I wonder if I should come up with like an outro. What kind of outro could I have? I hope the rest of your day is filled with serotonin. And I'll see you once again, my precious Fluffle. See you next week, Fluffle. I don't know. I'll try to come up with something. But bye bye. I do the wave. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.